think Day of the Panther is the best action movie of the 80s, you've probably seen Laser Mission. Because compared to this thing, just about every other movie ever made is a masterpiece. We begin at a she party where the Verbig diamond, so named apparently because it is very big, is unveiled just in time for shotgun-wielding thugs to filch it. Cut to Brandon Lee as mercenary Michael Gold, who arrives via jumbo jet at an airport built in someone's living room. Gold meets the brilliant Professor Braun, played in a creative bit of casting by Ernest Borgnine. Braun has knowledge of some vaguely defined laser technology that promises to revolutionize Cold Warfare, so both the US and the Soviet Union are trying to abduct him. The commies meet with more success. Having had the bad sense to get into this movie, Borgnine has the good sense to get right back out again, at least for the time being, as Russian... Are they Russian? Agents tranquilize them both, absconding with the scientists and imprisoning Gold under sentence of death. Naturally, Gold escapes, in a scene reminiscent of the shootouts in Bad Taste, only this time I'm not sure the parody is entirely intended. Gold's handlers airdrop him in the made-up country of Kuwana to find Braun's daughter, Alyssa. Here he uses super spy trickery to commandeer a jeep. Cut to the part of Kuwana that's in Florida, where Gold goes to meet Alyssa at a vet clinic. He promises to help her find her dad and meanwhile sneaks into Braun's old office to rummage through his papers. But he accidentally trips an alarm and Nazis in Russian uniforms send bumbling Cuban thugs after him. But they're just a little too inept. Alyssa puts on a blue dress that makes her look fat, and she and Gold have dinner. Channeling Valentino, Gold accidentally calls Alyssa a prostitute, and then affirms that that's okay with him.
Oh, am I worth 100,000 Kwanas too?
I never put price tags on women. It's much more fun taking them off.
Then, after getting a cryptic clue from some dying old guy, they steal a van, blow away a bunch more baddies, get lost in the desert, have a run-in with the worst shot in human history. Find a horse, and go to a hotel. All this doubtless takes the better part of a week, and yet Alyssa spends the whole time wearing the same smelly dress. There's a ton more limp fight scenes, such as this one with another Russian Nazi, or maybe he's a German communist, in a room replete with wall-mounted weapons a la Matrix Reloaded, except that no one ever uses them. So much for Chekhov's sage advice. Eventually, the diamond turns up again. Gold and Alyssa take turns being hostages. There are more fight scenes, and then there's an amazing twist ending.
Liebchen! My little Liebchen!
Now, I should be clear that I love action movies. I'm not at all picky about them either. As long as there's a decent fight or two, I'll forgive just about anything. But Laser Mission is a complete failure. The writing's terrible, the plot makes no sense. It's almost impossible to tell where the movie's set from one moment to the next. The heroic one-liners are hackneyed.
I just dropped in to say, bon appetit.
And worst of all, the action scenes suck. Had they been any good at all, I'd have been inclined to let all the movie's other sins slide. There's a comic subplot involving revolutionary foot soldiers Manuel and Sergeant Roberta that's fitfully amusing in an Ernest Goes Sandinista kind of way, but is mostly just embarrassing.
So, how do you do, Michael Gold?
And of course there's the novelty of seeing Lee in a pre-famous role, but none of this is anywhere near enough to save this disaster. In fact, this movie's so bad that it actually reveals a lot about how genre works. It's because its makers are so clueless at masking their reliance on generic cliches, and at least the facade of a specific story, that the cliches are shown for what they are. The fact that the writers couldn't be bothered to come up with a better name for a very big diamond than Verbig diamond is typical. But also consider the villains. What exactly are they? They appear at turns to be Soviets, but are also Germans, except when they're Central American, except when there's some combination of the three. It's not clear why the movie makers here never pick a firm identity for their bad guys. The obvious theory is that perestroika in the USSR's looming dissolution in 1989 coaxed them to wonder whether using communists, until then reliable fallback B-movie villains for decades, was losing its effectiveness, and they tried to substitute Nazis in the middle of production, but they didn't have the resources to do complete reshoots. So, in the end, what indicates that the Russo-Nazi Che Guevara bad guys in the movie are bad guys? Well, it's the fact that they tend to be from the countries that bad guys tend to be from. You might as well have called Laser Mission Action Movie and dubbed Michael Gold Jake Action Hero. Now, of course, no one would really be that cynical, would they? The movie gets a lot of praise on the IMDb user comments page simply for having Brandon Lee in it. And I think that's fine. Lee has an indelible cult status following his tragic death on the set of The Crow, of course. And frankly, if it hadn't been for his presence here, I doubt I ever would have watched this movie in the first place. That said, I was mostly indifferent to him. He's pretty as always, of course, but his acting is middling, and I was stunned to even find his fighting and stunt performance lackadaisical. Most of the other stunt work is lazy as well. Apparently no one was interested in risking injury or death for this thing. I give this movie 1 star for being incredibly awful, plus a half star because the humor is so stupid it occasionally amuses me. And because it makes Day of the Panther look good. This one's for dyed-in-the-hide Brandon Lee fans only.
You man! What do you just see?
Who fell out of the tree?
Wrong!